when you get to the end of this book is you want to feel bad for yourself that you are both rooting for Lasher's death and also maybe would he come and have sex with you? Yes, like that's the point.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer. We're supposed to feel icky.
The Articulate Coven is the original unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles, The Lives of the Mayfair Witches, and The Immortal Universe from AMC and AMC Plus.
Welcome to the Articulate Coven. We are your hosts. I'm Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are the Articulate Coven. The Articulate Coven is the unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's Immortal Universe. We cover the books and the movies and especially the TV shows from AMC and AMC Plus. Right now, we're discussing Season 2, Episode 2 of Mayfair Witches. The name of the episode was The Ten of Swords, Ashley.
It's one of my favorite tarot cards. I love it. It's so beautiful. I have a deck that particular card is just chef's kiss.
I'm excited about that. I made some notes about the Ten of Hearts, but the Ten of Swords, but I was like, I don't know anything about tarot. I'm sure our audience will correct us. But no, you can correct me.
A little. I haven't been that witchy in a while, but I probably should get up into my cards. It doesn't mean good things though. Ten of Swords is bad luck, particularly for the ladies.
Yeah, as a rule, it is not a great omen.
No.
All right, we've got a lot to talk about real quick. Let's do a little bit of business first of all. There is quite a lot of great feedback already from episode 1. We appreciate that. We're going to do a full feedback episode at the end of this season. So if you are fairly new to the community, you're not going to get overwhelmed when we're doing inside jokes in the comment section. Because it has, I realize some of what we do here is a little bit insular because we've been doing it for a while, and so there are layers upon layers of this thing.
There are. We're like an onion or a parfait. We do because and so many people have been with us for so long that like in our Facebook group that are very active and things like that. And so we do tend to have some inside jokes, but we should let everyone in on those.
Second, a little bit of business, movie night recommendations. I am specifically speaking to our patrons here. I want to remind you guys or let you know, I've sent you notifications through Patreon, but go and look. If you're a $5 member or a $10 member, there's some votes and there's some recommendations that we're asking for. So look, we're looking for at least 4 or 5 movie nights for this show, Articulate Coven, in between Mayfair and whatever comes next. We're going to do some book club, obviously, episodes, but my guess is we'll probably have time for 2 book clubs before Talamasca, maybe more. So
maybe it depends on which ones we read and
that was my thought. That was my
how we break it up.
If we're doing Lasher, Lasher's a 30-hour book almost, so like that one will probably take us a while. It's 5 or 6 episodes probably, but anyway, and of course there too, if we end up going with the witches, if that's what you all would like to hear, I think even though we're not going to cover the witching hour again necessarily, we will cover the second book if that's the plan. Yeah. But there will be some discussion of the witching hour novel inherent in that because of so much was changed about that first book.
Yeah.
In fact,
I need to reread it. I'm going those are going to be my next 2 off my shelf books for the next 2 weeks. Because
I don't think that's a bad idea.
I just have to read them because even there were things happening and I was like, oh wait, do I know her? Who is that? How are they? Who's she married to? Was she in last season? And I was just like, I hate watched so hard last season. Twice, Joel, we watched that shit twice. And I still can't fucking even really 100% remember what happened. I think did I block it out? Is this like a PTSD reaction I'm having?
I don't even know if this is still in print, but I want to give a little nod here if you ever see it on a thrift shelf or something. I don't have it handy to show you, but Catherine Ramsland wrote 2 companions.
Yes.
She wrote a vampire companion and a witch's companion. The vampire companion actually got 2 editions. The witch's companion was complete because there wasn't another witch book until the spinoffs, and Catherine wasn't doing Anne Rice stuff at that point. But I can't speak highly enough about the witch's companion. Y'all, if you want to be able to, just as I did, just as you were talking about there, Ashley, Who do I know? Is that a book character? I feel like that's a book character. What do they do in the books? Well, let me read it in 2 paragraphs.
Appendices.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's very, very handy. Tolkien knew what he was doing, and
yes, our guy,
let her underlings do it. Catherine was a friend, and she wrote not an autobiography, a biography of Anne called Prism of the Night, which Zach Brahani reminded me of the other day on YouTube.
Did she do some audiobooks too for her?
Catherine Ramsland? Maybe. I don't know.
Am I making that up?
No, she might have.
I might be making that up. I could be full of shit.
But yeah, she wrote the Prism of the Night, which was a biography about Anne's work up until I think like the release of Memnoch. And then she also wrote, like I say, 2 editions of the Vampire Companion, one that was the first 4 books, and then one that added in Memnoch, and then the Witch's Companion as well. I think she also did. Catherine Ramsland, I believe, did some real-world vampire books as well.
Okay.
So, as a matter of fact, I think Catherine Ramsland was in that news story that somebody posted in the Facebook group about the vampires in Dayton, Ohio, or whatever. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think Catherine Ramsland was the one that was being interviewed there as having gone underground. So
underground to infiltrate the vampires of Ohio.
The vampires of Ohio, exactly.
I'm shocked we didn't meet any when we were living there, Joel.
You and I both spent time in Dayton. If there were vampires there, we would have run into them,
listen,
Ashley.
Here's the thing. Sometimes I would go to the grocery store after rehearsal, and I would have been riding horses all damn day. So much so that you could see a ring from the inside of my calves all the way up into my crotch and around, front and back, where the horse's body had been between my legs all day. And I will still not be the toughest, roughest, hardest looking person at the grocery store.
It is it was
real talk.
At the time, at least, it was very much an underprivileged area of Ohio. Let's put it that way.
Ooh, real talk.
Woo. All right. So there we go. Movie nights. There you go. If you're a patron or if you'd like to become a patron, go and vote for our movie nights. Specifically for this show, we're going to do at least 4 or 5 of those. But then also for Flan Again, our Mike Flanagan rewatch podcast. We're wrapping up Fall of the House of Usher right now. So what's next for that? We're going to do a few movie nights, and then we'll do our next series, and you all get to pick that. It's all available at articulatecoven.com/join. Which, by the way, I wanted to set this goal. So I checked yesterday. We just had a few new members over the last, couple of weeks. Casey Forrester, awesome. Jennifer Morgan, and Stephanie Deal. Thanks to you all for joining, by the way.
Hey, y'all.
So we're at 37 paid patrons right now. In May, we're going to get to our 8th anniversary of this show, Ashley, of like regular episodes. I would love to hit, by the time we get to our anniversary, I'd love to be at 50 paid patrons. You help us do that.
That would be amazing.
If you've been enjoying the show and you've been thinking, maybe I want to join. If you're in a position to do so, God knows times are hard. If you're not, enjoy the free content. Everything's coming your way anyway. But
my God.
If you want to help us out.
We will give it away for free.
No, that's right. That's right. Do not worry about that. But
worry not.
If you're in a position to, we'd love for you to join us there. articulatecoven.com/join. All right. Enough sales. Let's get to this show, Ashley. Overall, big stuff. 10 of Swords is the name of the episode. The director was Logan Kibbens, and the writer was Sarah Cornwell. What do you think about this one, Ashley?
Well, Joel, I'm not really sure. It started off and I was like, ooh, I'm like this shot. This is a really cool shot of like under the table of seeing the tarot cards being dealt. And I was like, okay, I'm here for this. I'm enjoying this. This is interesting. And then and then it just kept going. And so I this version of Rowan is so much better. Like
yes.
That's something that I'm going to stand on 100%. This version of Rowan is so much better. God bless and thank you. I don't know who had any hand in that, but God bless and thank you, because she has moments of like weakness and fear, but it's not her defining characteristic.
Yes.
There were things that we came to that I like, what in the actual fucking Denethor was happening with Julian.
Well,
I will get there, but like that's all I could think. I was like, please stop eating those cherry tomatoes at that poor hobbit.
Oh man. the Julian of it all is really going to be a major topic tonight, y'all.
It's real hard for me to unpack.
I'll tell you this. Now, I didn't see Buffalo Bill on screen once. Did you, Ashley?
I didn't.
No,
I didn't, and I did not hear him either.
No.
Which was my real fears. That everything I've ever seen that man in. It's less looking at him because he can look quite a bit different depending on how he's dressed and how he's styled, blah, 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 if he's got prosthetics, whatever. But his voice is always that man's voice. I like the Southern accent. It does soften him a bit. Though I was like, is this Southern or is this like Eastern European? What are we in and out of?
At moments he sounded Scottish. But
Scottish?
So here's what and this is a guess on my part. I don't know. If you know, listening to this, watching this, and you can give us definitive feedback, please do so. I got the impression that they weren't certain what the accent was going to be. And this was like one of the first scenes shot. And we might have gotten 2 or 3 different takes edited together effectively.
An amalgamation.
Yes. My guess is when we see Julian next, it will be more consistent.
Yeah.
And it's like they were working some things out and it all ended up in the edit for whatever reason.
But thank God none of it sounded like Buffalo Bill.
Amen to that.
I didn't feel like I needed to put lotion on my skin one time.
No. Matter of fact, I don't want any lotion in the room, Ashley. It was moist enough.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
All right. Right up off the bat, Gifford Mayfair is not a character created for the TV show, Ashley.
She's not, Joel, but what did we do within 5 minutes of her appearing on screen? We killed the bench.
Okay. Did you know that was Thora Birch?
What?
That was Thora Birch.
That's what they hired Thora Birch to do?
Yeah, I got so mad. Okay, so I'm literally, Ashley, I start the show, and it would, like, first of all, she's beautiful. She's so beautiful presented here. And I was like, man, who is this fucking knockout? And they're
Gifford.
Really
and
laying her up.
It's Gifford.
Yeah, well, literally, so I go, okay, Gifford must have been created for the show. And then I pull out my thing. No, she's not created for the show. And I realized, they held her story even. She lives on the lake. She lives at the beach house. In the books, she's connected to Ryan Mayfair, et cetera, et cetera. Like, all this stuff is as it is in the show. And I'm like, what are they doing? This is awesome. Who is this beautiful woman? And then they kill her. And I got so mad before I even realized who it was. But then I looked it up. When I realized that it was Thora Birch, I'm like, why? I mean, I guess they killed, what was her name from season 1? Deidre. Who was the actress that we both loved? Annabeth Gish. Okay, they killed her way too early, too. Why is this show throwing away wonderful actresses?
Good actors? I mean, Jesus. Annabeth Gish did die brilliantly in the first episode of the House of Usher as well. Like, she's someone who's like, I'll sign on for an episode or two, and you can.
I mean, everybody learned the Harrison Ford rule, right? Harrison Ford wanted to die in Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yes,
they wouldn't let him.
She's like, it's fine. I'm comfortable with it. You bring me back as a ghost. It's cool.
Okay, but Gifford is in the books, and she's.
I had no clue it was Thora Birch. What if, like, not that she's not fantastic, but this is not fucking This is not Drew Barrymore in Scream.
No,
like, this is not,
she's
like,
not
what
that.
are you
Like,
doing?
nobody's gonna. You're not gonna recognize her, honestly, unless we call it out. Like,
No.
you and I talked about her casting when they announced it. We were both excited about it. Neither of us, I think, remembered the name Gifford. Honestly, Gifford's a small role in the book.
I do remember Gifford's name. Like, that's because it's an unusual name.
Yeah.
It's like not. It's not a like very like normal name, and certainly not like a southern lady name, you know.
No.
So it really stuck in my head, and so when she popped up and I heard her referred to as her name, I was like, oh fuck yeah, I know her, and I got excited.
So we've said her name a bunch. We have. If you don't know who Thora Birch is, I remember her best from Hocus Pocus. She's the main girl in Hocus Pocus.
Girl in Hocus Pocus.
She's in a bunch of other things. If you go look at her IMDb, you're going to recognize something or a bunch of things that you
child
liked
actor
from the 90s. Yeah. But I mean, and I knew that she was still around. I hadn't seen her in anything in quite a while. But man, the costuming, everything is really stepping it up here. Her home is beautiful too. And at first I was like, where in New Orleans is she at? But then she says on the phone, no, I'm not coming into the city. Okay, this is supposed to be a North Shore home. This is on the North Shore of Lake Ponchatrain. Lake Ponchatrain, one of the biggest inland lakes in the country, other than like the Great Lakes. And
it's so large it has a tide.
I mean, literally, there are tidal. Yes.
It's fucking crazy.
It's also it's the longest one in the United States. I don't think it is anymore the longest bridge in the world. I think it's been passed a couple of times. But there's like that's the causeway, right? Yeah, the Twin Spans is the other one. The causeway goes across Lake Pontchartrain, and like it's like a 20-minute drive, something like that.
It's so long. It's so, the first time, I remember the first time we went to New Orleans, we went that way because my dad was like, "You gotta fucking see this."
You gotta,
know what I mean?
Literally is like a structural anomaly.
It is insane. But like every road you're on your way to New Orleans has potential death written all over it. Like you are on a scary, stilted structure over water, no matter what's happening, and there are gators in that water, lots of them.
It's so true. There is not a safe way into New Orleans. I mean, you can helicopter in, I guess.
On the way home from New Orleans one time, we were like, what the hell's happening at the fucking whatever interstate we were on, 55? Is it 55?
Yeah, 55 goes up. Yeah,
we're all piled up. It's crazy. A fucking like truck, like somebody driving like a Ryder truck or something. It jumped the guardrail and went into the water. We thought we were watching a suicide attempt because there was a dude dangling off the other direction, like dangling off of the damn bridge, and we watched him let go, and I was like, oh my god. But no, he was doing a fucking water rescue of these people stuck in this truck.
I mean, so when when the water is high, it might be like 7-8 feet below the bridge to hit the water. When the water is low, when the season is such that the water is low, it might be 25 feet to the water. So like,
depending on the time of year, that truck ends very differently.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everybody got out, everybody was fine, but
oh my god. Anyway, so that's where they want her to be, is on the North Shore. That's what this house and beach and area would make sense. And I've literally been to parties at this, not this house, but like a house just like this one, right? So that's a real place. However, Lasher gets there on foot and immediately goes back to the quarter, which would mean that it couldn't be a North Shore house. It would have to be a Metairie house, and there are no houses like that on the water in Metairie. You don't want to be on the beach on the Metairie side. That's not the same.
No, indeed. I do like that we are both so familiar with New Orleans that we have these little tidbits that we can contribute.
Let me tell you how the geography of this is incorrect.
Let me break this down for you.
It's like everybody that lived in LA that watched 24 and were like, Jack would never make it across town.
Yes. Oh, those people are my heroes. I want to know everything. Tell me it all.
There's an In-N-Out over there. It's a really nice one. You go stop there for lunch or dinner.
Yeah, he could get a quick bite on his way to not ever using the bathroom in 24 hours.
All right. So Gifford's playing. She's reading tarot though.
Yeah.
I mean, one assumes that she's reading tarot for herself, for the family generally. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Like, do you have to read it projected at a person?
No, I think it just depends on what she wants to be reading it for. If she's reading, if she's doing, it kind of depends on what you're focusing your energy on. You can do more general readings, or you can do really specific readings. So it just sort of depends on what she's focusing her energy on. And if she's trying to figure out what's happening, like if she's like, well, boy, people sure are dying around us pretty quick. That's kind of weird. You know, she could easily be doing a general reading about what's happening in the family, or she could be doing a reading about what's going on in her life. Because it also sounds like, you know, it sounds like she's estranged from whoever she's talking to on the phone. It sounds like they're kind of like having a thing where they're not like on the same page, at least with each other.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know if she says the name the first time. Does she?
Married to?
Well,
who
okay.
is she married to?
She's married to Ryan Mayfair in the books. Ryan is her cousin. She's also married to him, though. Very common in the Mayfair family.
Mayfair way.
Yeah. But so Ryan in the books is one of Cortland's sons. Ryan is a major player in the law firm along with Pierce, I believe. But since they've like de-aged Cortland effectively, or like brought him a little forward in time, I'm not sure exactly if they're going to maintain all the relations. But here, like, they literally did the thing out of the book, Ashley. Gifford is married to Ryan. They're estranged because or maybe not estranged, but at least having some heart. She's like, no, I need the space, babe. You stay in town.
I need my space. Yeah.
I'm going to stay up here. But Ryan shows up later in the episode after all of this happens to Gifford. But what happens to Gifford even is what happens to her in the book. She's got a premonition that things are bad. She tells everybody Lasher is out to get y'all. And then he gets her anyway. Now, in the book, this is much less romantic and consensual than it is here in the show. But I think, again,
pretty much all of Lasher's dashing through the Mayfair women is less consensual.
I was going to say,
in the
there
book
is
than
a whole lot more rape in this section in the book than there is so far in the show. Which good, honestly.
Which,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Give us all a little break. Plus, they fixed this dude's hair, so it's really nice to look at him like coming on to these ladies. You know, you're like, hey, good job, buddy. He looks like Dave Matthews in 1999. 2099 like 2002, which were like my prime, like I'd shag him years.
Yeah, I think that was the prime everyone in America and most of the Western world would have shagged Dave Matthews years, honestly.
Yeah.
Nobody would have thrown him out of bed for eating crackers. Let's just put it like that.
Oh, no. We would be smoking weed and eating crackers with a lot of beverages.
Okay, so we mentioned tarot earlier in the Ten of Swords. It can mean a lot of things. And I know our tarot reading listeners are going to correct and expand on anything we say here. But
right. Because it depends on like what position it's in. And it depends. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are dependent on it, but it does have a basic meaning.
Well, and like you said, it's like intention too, right? Like what are you asking for and
absolutely
that determines the answer. But it can mean destruction or defeat. That's primarily the deal. It can mean a turning point or a call to action, a melodramatic situation. In the reverse position, it can indicate the troubling situation will continue for a significant amount of time.
I used to get that card a lot in college. I can't imagine why.
Oh, man. So while Gifford's dealing her tarot cards, Rowan, meanwhile, is washing clothes and shivering. At first I was like, that poor Rowan, she's washed so many clothes and that baby's not even going to wear them again. Like, why don't you just throw those baby clothes out? Then I remembered she's not washing baby clothes. She's washing those clothes she went to the bayou with.
Yeah, she's washing her burial garb.
And she's freaking out over what she's become a part of now.
Yeah, I mean, because it does suck. And I will say this is the only time that you kind of I was like, oh God, are we back to this fucking Rowan? But she comes out of that pretty quick. But I think she's allowed to have a few moments of, holy shit, I just dumped a body in the swamp.
Absolutely. Well, but also like, I was thinking part of that is, have I missed my chance to solve this situation? Like I thought about it. I even had the moment where I went into his head and then I backed out and chickened out. But like,
yeah. And also,
is Millie right? Should I have killed the devil?
Yes. Yes, you should have. Yes. Yes,
ma'am. So finally, she realizes that her baby boy is not still locked in the cellar anymore.
Right, in the unimaginable cellar. Yeah. Well, what the fuck did did she really think he was still going to be in there?
I mean, minimum she's left him down there alone for an hour, right? And he was if not a grown man when she saw him last, he was 17 or so and really strong, threw her across the room.
Right.
Like, what are you doing, Rowan? That was
and he's horny.
Yeah.
He's like a horn dog.
He brought that dead woman back and was like, make sure I can fuck her again.
Fix her so I can sniff her some more.
Okay, so Lark calls while she's trying to figure out what to do about the missing Lasher and says that he stopped working on the blood sample because it showed as non-human.
Yeah, there's something. Your sample is soiled, ma'am.
Rowan says
something wrong with it.
Don't even worry about it. Just run it again, homie. Just run it again and go on and finish that finish that test, bud. What do you mean, non-human? Don't worry about it.
Nothing to see here.
I forgot to mention this. In the cellar, she tries her powers to turn on the lights, and they're a little on the fritz.
Yeah, she had to
That's
use
an
the,
interesting note.
She had to use the switch like a person would use in a cellar, except the cellar would never be in New Orleans.
Okay, so I don't love this. First of all, I don't love that they gave her like effectively Jean Grey powers or whatever. She can do all sorts of stuff. However, just as you and I literally today, I think I scheduled out a social media post of us talking about how in the books the vampires don't spill any blood. And you make the point that's not cinematic. Like that doesn't work.
Yeah, we want to watch them eat some people.
It's gonna look stupid if they literally go.
It will look weird. That sound. Sorry, everybody. We both did it at the same time.
We both did the same sound too. It's because we thought about this since we were 12. All right, we've considered it. Is my point. But I do wonder if this is not a if we shouldn't give a little ground for changes like that, specifically because, like, how do you visualize the witchiness that Anne presents? You know, it's a bunch of feelings. It's a bunch of like general good luck, and then it's a ghost that can blow things around, right? Like, I mean, honestly,
and fuck some ladies.
Yeah,
I think that I do. I think this is I'm fine with this. This is exactly to me, exactly like the blood sucking.
Yeah.
You know, it's more accessible. It's more what people are used to seeing when they think of witches. And it's something that can, you know, a non-reader can relate to, and honestly isn't something that for me as a reader has really pissed me off. Like there's way many other things to focus on.
Every now and again I'm like, dude, none of this works like that. This doesn't work like that.
She's like twitching her nose like.
But now the flip side of that though, to give a little pushback to that is this, what they're clearly doing here with the fact that her powers are expanded like this is they're giving her some argument for why she would continue to maybe let Lasher live. Like, obviously at this point, she said she's going to go kill him, but when she gets to the moment and maybe she has an opportunity to, why would she talk herself out of it? Why would this character continue to live? Well, he amps the shit up out of her powers, doesn't she? Yeah.
And she acknowledges or they have a conversation at some point during this episode. Where
Millie calls her out on
it. This isn't your child. This isn't a child.
Yeah.
This was not you're not my child. You weren't my child. You know, that kind of thing, which I thought was really like interesting in having to accept that is the truth of the situation. Like if there was a real baby in there, he replaced whatever was happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Lasher, meanwhile, has found himself inside of a house. Just so happens to be Gifford Mayfair's house.
Yeah, what? Just wandered. You know what? He smelled her.
Listen.
He smelled that smell on the lake, on the wind of the lake.
I'm telling you right now, you could not smell a woman from across Lake Ponchatrain. You can't.
You could not. Or if you can, she's dead.
It's a different sort of scent, friends. That's
corpse.
Right. We've talked about I love Jack Houston, the actor.
Yes.
He looks so much better as Lasher this season than he did last year.
He's so much better, I think. I feel like this is a much more, I think this version of him is really interesting.
I think they are clearer on where they're going with all of this than they were last season. And I think that has allowed both Rowan and Jack, Alexandria Daddario and Jack Houston to dial in on some choices instead of, because I get the sense now that literally most of season one's direction for these characters were like, well, could go a lot of places, you know, like
we don't really know.
Do we get canceled? Do we get connected immediately to the vampires? Like, do we get to are they going to let us do book 3, for instance? And now
we don't know. Let's just make it witchy and see.
Okay. Do you know how, like, in retrospect, some of the choices in season 2 of Interview with the Vampire are obviously made in light of the fact that they have been told to plan for Vampire Lestat. Like, I feel like there were things set up because they had been told, yeah, we're going to do book 3. Okay. Or book 2 in that case, the 3rd season. I think here there very much is we haven't gotten a green light for season 3, but I think there is a commitment from AMC that said, oh, we're going to do the 3 books. Like, build towards those storylines.
Even if they're not necessarily like, 3rd season, at least the showrunners are like, 3rd season's going to be this. Like, they've decided what they want,
maybe that's
the story
all
they want to tell. And that's how it feels much more to me, is like they have finally decided what story to tell. And it's like, it really just feels like season 1 was just all this weird, unnecessary filler when they could have filled it with, more like appropriate and necessary filler. And I wouldn't be so.
Anything in season 1 about genetics, for instance.
Right? We're getting into the science of it, which I'm a fucking nerd about this shit. I love it when we get into the science of it.
Me too.
Weirdo. I've said it before. I'm the asshole that liked the second Star Wars movie of the prequels because I liked the political intrigue of it. I wanted to figure out who was doing what and who was lying to who and all that shit. I'm into it.
We got... I know we said we're not going to do feedback. Well, we're not going to talk about this in a feedback episode, so I'll talk about it here. Somebody, I can't remember who, somebody's commented on our last video, though, and said, yeah, man, Attack of the Clones kicks ass. I'm like, oh, we are devout prequel defenders here. Don't even worry about it.
God, I am a devoted Star Wars apologist. Come at me.
So Lasher's in the house with Gifford, and man, I love Jack Houston a lot. I don't know that I would have romanced the man that wandered into my house randomly and sort of looks like a hobo. He looks like
doesn't she know it's him?
I don't think she does. I do get the impression now, though, that just as he has a direct draw to the Mayfair women, I think they have a natural draw to him. That he has Do you remember in the movie Michael with John Travolta how he smells different to everybody, but it's their favorite thing?
It's like their favorite smell. Yeah.
I think that's what Lasher has going on to the Mayfair women. At least he smells like their favorite thing.
Well, and especially right now because that's the whole thing of this. It's like they're supposed to be making this mega baby.
Y'all, it is so, and it blows my mind. We're going to talk about it in a minute. I literally have a note, why don't they just say it? Okay, so Lasher tells Gifford some of his vague memories. He says he swam in the ocean, for instance. Then she just oh, that's so fascinating. Would you like to come in for a drink? No, this hobo he wandered up onto your dock.
Once again, in New Orleans, this is not what you would do.
When the guy tells you he knows where your shoes are, where you got your shoes, you don't invite him into your home.
No, they're on your feet. My God, they're on your feet.
So they have a drink, and then they have some kissing, and then they go off screen, clearly for some sex. He wakes up on the couch, or he's not asleep. She's asleep. He has put her to sleep on the couch. He is very thirsty.
Nice work.
Indeed. Makes his way to the fridge for some milk. I will say this.
Fucking milk.
I guarantee you, if he's gulping this milk before the sex scenes, they never happen. That would drive the women away. I felt very certain.
You can't have that much jostling around after milk.
So he's carbo loading, I guess, and she says she's screaming off screen, and she's hemorrhaging to death, Ashley, just like Lucy Mayfair from the last episode. And again, it's like the whole bottom of her outfit is covered in red, and there she is. Why would they cast Thora Birch for such a limited role? I don't understand that one, though.
Well, and maybe she becomes a ghost of some sort. Maybe we get some sort of
good call.
Know. Maybe
you can always bring somebody back.
Maybe she just wanted the money. Maybe she just was like,
fair.
Sure, give me the paycheck.
Thora's like, y'all shut up. I had a beach house, please.
Yeah, thank you.
We find Cortland in his mind prison being chased down by the witches that he's harmed. And he says, I didn't want to do it. My father made me do it. And I was all like, oh, look at that, a little Julian tag. And then we just meet the motherfucker. There he is in the mind palace with Cortland.
Yeah. He doesn't look anything like... The only thing that looked remotely like how I pictured Julian is maybe his hair.
Okay, I was gonna say the little curl in the hair. It seems very like he spent time on that hair. I could sort of see that.
A little foppish, a little, a little.
I mean, maybe the look played differently. And again, I have to remind myself, sort of like we talked about with Lestat's presentation in season 2 of Interview with the Vampire. It's like, that's not Lestat. That's Louis' impression of Lestat. This isn't Julian inherently.
You're totally right.
Right?
You're totally right. That's a good point.
This is Julian in Cortland's head, I guess.
Yeah. And I didn't even think about that because I'm also like, this isn't my Julian.
No.
This is very, and I don't even mean physical appearance. I don't even mean the Buffalo Bill of it all. I just mean like the character himself is very, like, I mean, Julian had some not so great qualities, but I didn't ever think that he was just cruel.
What,
you know?
Yes, Julian was a monster because of what he was willing to do for like the family initiative.
Absolutely.
But like, this is like a gluttonous wretch.
It's Denethor.
Yeah. So,
like, the Steward of Gondor has gone round the bend.
So if you haven't read the books, Julian Mayfair is so important. The reason we've been making such a big deal about his inclusion at all is because he's effectively the only Mayfair witch to be a man. All down through the generations, the person with the most power in the generation and the person who would become the heir of the family and Lasher's familiar, I guess, honestly. Like, you know, you'd think of Lasher as the familiar, but genuinely it's like Lasher has a pet and that pet is a Mayfair witch. But Julian was the only man. Julian's the only male of the whole line to have that kind of power and that kind of authority in the family. And he is the one that begins to pull the final strings and put things in place for Rowan's birth, which then leads to Lasher's birth, you know? And so that's why he matters. That's why we've cared. Also, he's one of the more interesting characters that he interacts with Lasher so much directly. So many of the others run away from Lasher, and Julian, as we said last week, is like, "Come to me, my demon lover."
Bold and brash. Yeah, absolutely. And Julian has a couple of other like very close relationships with some of his sisters and things like Julian's
incestuous raping relationships, but, and with his daughters and his granddaughters.
But like his sister, he ran around cross-dressing with. Like, I love that. That was fun.
Julian is also, he's the best representation of LGBTQ in the Mayfair family, probably, too. There are several members that are sapphic, but it's like one of the things they are. Julian is like, no, I'm gay.
Yeah.
But also, women are awesome.
He's sexy. The character's very sexy and interesting and enigmatic. And like he just has this really, to me, always had this really cool allure to him. Like he was, he was in charge and yet not at all in charge, and it is the interesting thing of having the juxtaposition of all of these women, and then all of a sudden Julian having such a role in that particular time in the family. And that was a cool time in the family too. Like, there were parties happening all the time at the house. Like, that's a really fun part of the book. I mean, crazy shit's happening, but it's also like, it's really like you get a really cool feeling of that time period and what was happening in New Orleans around that time. Like it all had a really good vibe. And this is not it. This is not the vibe.
No, not so much. So he's having a ghost feast, basically, and invites Cortland to dine with him. But then once Cortland makes himself a plate, he immediately takes it, and Julian eats it himself. And then does this again and again a few times. Very, very strange. I mean, again, it reminded me, like, I don't know. It was like clearly a gross out factor, and then later it gets even more specifically gross out.
Oh yeah.
And again, I do wonder, is this what they're going with? The end of this episode sort of hints that it might kind of be. We'll get there in a little while.
Yeah, I don't know. Whose eyes are we seeing this through? And is it a true lens, or is it a distorted reality?
Yeah.
Or is it a ghost or a witch's trick? Who the fuck knows?
Right.
Because we don't know.
So Jojo and Rowan are in the basement together, talking about Cortland in front of his statue. And I love this. Jojo does not want him to be woken up. She's like, leave him in the statue, please.
Please. You could move him to my basement if he's making you uncomfortable. I shouldn't have a basement either, but I probably do.
Okay, so I have it marked down. This is the first mention of Ryan Mayfair. So earlier when Gifford was on the phone, she didn't say it. But here, Ryan calls Jojo to tell her that Gifford has died.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
So they get to Gifford's house, and Rowan like puts the pieces together and realizes exactly what has happened. Like she sees the milk, you know, she's about to, like, she checks on Gifford's body, and the cops sort of interrupt her. But you get the sense that she knows exactly what's happened. And then she realizes her powers are back. Lasher's still here. Lasher's still close somewhere. And so that confirms what we saw earlier is like, when Lasher is near her, her powers are incredibly strong.
Are stronger.
And when he is away, she either overloads herself trying to do something, or she can't do something at all, depending upon, I guess, his proximity. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, this is not how it works in the book, but you understand how they're clearly angling this towards giving her some sort of dilemma about it all.
Because this is an easy way to literally show a power dynamic, like you know, and once, if he ever figures that out, like, he knows he can manipulate. We know he can manipulate her with that. You know, we know he's got that in his wheelhouse.
I'll just say that in the book, the dilemma first and foremost is that was literally her child. Also, Rowan falls in love with Lasher. She doesn't like it. It's not a healthy relationship, but she does have affection, both physical and romantic, for the person of Lasher. You combine that with the whole motherhood of it all, and then also she sees this pathway to, like, his genetics might allow me to save the fucking world.
Yeah, I could end cancer. What?
Yeah, so, like, I think there's a stew, and the show is presenting a lot of that anyway, so I feel like there's a stew there that you could have gotten to that dilemma anyway. They're doing a shorthand here with the power ramping, which is it's fine. And I do have to remind myself, Mayfair was the show that was more popular with the general audience than Interview. Right? They're making a general audience show.
Yeah, and I think that these are kind of the reasons why. And as long as, like, this is, to me, stuff I can accept.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I'm going to struggle with, and I'm going to have issues with. And I think that there's a big capital J in front of one of my biggest problems, and that is going to be Julian as we go forward. But it's not what I thought. It's not what I thought it was going to be. It's not the Buffalo Bill of it. It's the what have they done to Julian of it?
I mean, I guess if you just want to, again, if they're going to pin literally all of the incest and dirty dealing and rapery and all of the nefarious deeds of the family on Julian, then they're like, oh, let's make him gross too, instead of the charismatic devil that he is in the novels.
Right. Which is all part of it, though. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, the thing when you get to the end of this book is you want to feel bad for yourself that you are both rooting for Lasher's death and also maybe would he come and have sex with you? Yes, like that's the point.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer. We're supposed to feel icky, but I really am annoyed that I have to go back and.
We're supposed to feel icky as the title.
I mean, it's accurate.
All right. We've talked too much now. We've got to speed through a few things here. So,
oh my God.
So Lasher. So Rowan tries to seduce him. They meet in the woods and he's talking to her. It's kind of hidden. He's like, don't look at me. I guess the implication is he doesn't think that she realizes he's grown, but his voice is different. Surely she knows he's older now.
Sounds like a whole ass man. Right. That's a whole ass man.
But
he's got to go out on tour. He's got to go on tour with this whole band in like 6 months.
She says, it can be like how it was before. And I think she's mostly lying here, but I do think she's working through it, and she's definitely hanging it out there for him as bait, at least. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, you might take one more trip to the snack bar before you go into the movie theater. I don't know. It's not my business.
Good on him, though. He's not buying it and runs away. And so she immediately starts throwing things at him. She throws a lightning bolt at him. She throws a bunch of limbs at him, right behind him always. So he does get away.
Right. He's very fast.
But whenever he gets back to New Orleans proper, and he's been injured somehow. He's hiding in this shed or something. He's got a big cut in his hand, and he's like resting. He grips his hand tight, bleeds a few drops of blood, one of which falls on a beetle.
Right.
And it glows and then flies away. I don't exactly know what they're getting at there. I'm assuming magic blood is the shorthand.
I'm going to call that as foreshadowing for something that may come in the future.
Yeah. I mean, like, is it just going to heal people? Is it going to, as you said, is it going to like heal major diseases? Is it
right?
Is it going to mutate them in some fashion? I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there, but my guess is that will come back.
Yes, that's a pretty good indication.
So Sip and Arjuna get together for a second. Arjuna is gonna give him the Bible, and he says, no, not yet, because I'm still okay right now. But I want to talk about what he actually came to Arjuna to get. She gives him a trust tab, I believe is what she calls it. Seems like a little magic bug you can stick on someone and then turn them into a willing ally is what it seems like they were going to do.
Which seems like not just watching and always being there, but actually fucking interfering with the shit.
I mean, but that we've just given the Talamasca a magic date rape drug. Is that what we have?
Oh, Lord.
But they're really worried about Albrecht wiping mine still, so that's going on. Arjuna's been losing her memory too.
Besides Sip cares, at least like they're like, okay, yeah, this is happening and this is fucked up and we can't trust this guy.
But Sip says something interesting. He tells Arjuna that the reason he's even though he knows Albrecht is erasing his memory, or at least has at some point, he says the work is worth any amount of personal risk. We're all that stands between order and chaos. So again, like, even the foot soldiers are thinking they're taking a much more active role than our book Talamasca, I think is what we're looking at here.
Right. And again, we see them doing it unwittingly and not on purpose throughout the entirety of the witching hour. Like they're all the time getting horny and fucking a witch and then getting all involved in shit that they shouldn't be involved in. And that happens repeatedly throughout the witching hour. So like they do stick their wick places it does not belong. And, and it does always literally, and it does have consequences. So I guess I'm not completely messed up about that, but for them to just be blatantly like, have like tech that fucks with people, like magic tech that's like manipulative and that seems like cheating in a way. I don't know. Well,
and at least Arjuna calls it out. She's like, you don't use this right away. Like you can make an ally and they're an ally. You use this and you burn them,
Yeah, and she says like it can only be used on one person or something like that.
Only one person, and only for a limited amount of like once it wears off, they're going to know that you manipulated them is the implication. So like
whereas like they definitely are with like kind of setting Sip on this path to Moreira. I mean, that could really be leading them down that Michael and Mona path a little bit. I think that's like
100% they're going to make that romantic now because of the way that this trust tab thing works out. Okay, so we're at Mora's house now, or at her mom's house, I guess. Alicia is her mother, Alicia Mayfair. And finally they call it out. Alicia is drunk. I've said before, she seems like a day drinker. They specifically say, Mom, you're drunk. They call it out here specifically. Moira is straightening up. Her mom is dancing around and planning a dinner at Commander's Palace. That's absolutely
50 cent martinis at lunch on Fridays, right? Or Mondays?
This woman would Commander's Palace would absolutely be her favorite place to go to lunch.
Oh,
I'm telling
100%.
Yeah.
Those 50 cent martinis, she'd be tits deep in them.
But so she says, "Oh, it's your favorite place." Commander's Palace was not Moira's favorite place. It was Tessa's. She can't even keep her children straight, and Tessa calls her out on that too.
Moira, you can't keep her daughter straight, Joel.
I can't. Sorry. My 15-year-old son just said for the first time ever in his life he heard someone other than me say "hoisted by their own petard."
Oh! Was he watching Dairy Girls?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him when we get off.
Yeah, we gotta figure that out.
He was so excited he texted me. Yes, so Moira calls her out on it. She's like, that's not my favorite. That's Tessa's favorite, Mom. We go back to Julian in the Mind Palace, and he was gross in the first scene. He's so gross here. He tells Cortland, you ask what you can do, and yet you look on as I starve.
So strange.
So Cortland is already, not Cortland. Cortland hasn't eaten anything yet. Julian's already eaten the whole feast now. It's all like leavings, basically. And Cortland's like looking at everything. What am I going to do? So he just cuts off his arm and serves
Cuts off his fucking arm. Remember in the teaser trailer when I was like, that's a whole fucking arm.
Yes.
This is the whole fucking arm.
This is Cortland's whole fucking arm.
Cortland's whole fucking arm.
I don't get the symbolism here. I do not understand it exactly. I mean, Cortland's eating his family.
He's also giving him his watch. He's also giving him his watch. Is it a bribe? I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. No, and I guess it's like symbolic of like Julian like literally consuming the family, consuming, you know, like it is like he's the destructor, which is so weird.
So Lasher is still on the hunt for more milk. He's back in the quarter now, which this is in what's it called? Is it called Pirates Alley? It's literally the alleyway immediately behind the cathedral. Yes, that is where this was filmed. But
I sat there and had a drink the last time I was in New Orleans.
Well, Lasher was trying to have a drink too. He was trying to drink the sewer milk. First of all, do you pour bad milk down the sewer? Is that what we do with it?
Is that the smell that we're smelling in the corner?
I don't think that's where it's supposed to go, friends. Maybe. I don't know. There are grease traps. I don't know if there are curd traps. That's not fun.
Oh, God. Get a fatberg going underneath the streets of New Orleans. That's all we need.
Never mind the flushable
Those drains
wipes.
aren't good.
No.
Those drains aren't good.
The city is underwater. I don't know how to tell you this.
That needs to go on a shirt. The city is underwater.
Okay, so the guy scares him off. He's trying to drink the milk. He's like, well, give me some fresh milk then. The guy's like, fuck off. That guy's
What's
from New
wrong
Orleans.
with you?
That guy that like chases Lasher away, he's from New Orleans.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a local cast.
No, you can't have the spoiled milk, you asshole.
What the fuck's wrong with you? Quit being fucking weird. Go away.
So here Rowan is speaking and specifically calls it out to Millie. Millie's kind of shows up and fusses at her because she hasn't handled this already. But she says he seduces them and then they hemorrhage. Why won't they say sex? Why won't they say that he's having sex with these women?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know unless they're worried people are going to think that it's like rapey.
That he's physically abusing them.
Yeah, but I think that the thing that they did was with
Alicia.
With
Gifford.
Gifford. God, I was like Gryffindor. Shit, with Gifford.
With Gryffindor Mayfair.
With Gryffindor Mayfair, what went down was but with Gifford, you know, she was asleep. We were clearly post-coital.
Yeah,
you know, and I almost feel like it's like the attempt of the body to fertilize whatever he's done, and then it's like a huge nasty miscarriage.
It can't work. And the accelerated processing kills them. Like that is
their bodies can't handle it, and that is it.
Don't know why they're beating around the bush. Like there's a way that they could have laid that out already for us, but it's like in a weird. I guess again, maybe for like a somebody who hasn't read the books, this is playing out as a great mystery. But
no, that could be true too. Like God, please, if you're watching us and you're not a book reader, if that's the way it's reading to you. Sorry, number one, sorry we spoiled it. But number two, please tell us, please give us the heads up. I would love to know how you're experiencing it if you're not a book reader.
So when it happens the first time in episode 1, I asked Kelly, I was like, so what happened to that girl? And he goes, well, she hemorrhaged. She bled to death. And I go, from where? And she goes, from her vagina? And I was like, indeed? Why do you think so? And she goes, they had sex? And I was like, yes. do you think he literally was just like, he exploded her from the inside? She's like, I don't know. And I go, okay. But like, I feel like that's where they've left us. Honestly, if you're not a book reader, you're like, what? Does he have an explosive penis? Was she hoisted by his petard?
By his petard?
She wasn't hoisted by his petard.
She was, but it didn't kill her.
It's closer to the old joke about like Mary Jane in the comics dying because Spider-Man has radioactive sperm. That's what's happening here more than him literally like, he's not fucking them to death. Yeah, he's not humping them to death. Exactly. That's so funny. You and I both went the same but different words. Yeah. Anyway, it's strange the way that they're playing it out though. But Millie, this is such a good line. Rowan tells Millie, I was going to kill him. I will kill him. It's fine. And she goes, every new gift from him still gives you goosebumps. Which again, this is that thing we're talking about they're drawing Rowan and Lasher together so that she's going to have a hard choice to make. How many Mayfair are going to die before she makes a hard choice though?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of the ladies to work your way through. We've met quite a few, and some of them are very excited to meet him. So
I do wonder what guest star they'll bring us next week to die quickly.
to get fucked to death by Lasher.
Listen, if you want to cast a series of beautiful redheads on this show, I'm not going to argue with you. That's all I'm saying.
I would not.
Yeah.
I would never argue.
Where were we? Okay. So Sip tries to talk to Moreira, and he has the tab out. He's going to use it, but instead of using it, he just opens up his mind to her. What a novel approach.
Yeah. Oh, she's psychic and can read your brain? Let it go. Let her know what's happening.
And it works.
Communication? Are you communicating?
Here's your hint. You could just tell the people what you want, actually, what you need.
No.
What you mean.
You got to go through many years of therapy before you learn that. Sip just did it on accident, I'm sure.
But Moira's totally into it. She's totally open to the whole thing. She tells him, like, well, it's not going to work because of this, and it's not going to work because of that. But, like, she's open to a relationship and a communication. The other thing is, she knew exactly who he was from Go, which tells me that the family has already had some run-ins with the Talamasca. I'm telling you, they could still bring in Aaron, Ashley.
Yes, because somebody actually in this episode mentions the Talamasca.
Yep.
Like,
Alicia does,
uses
I
that.
think.
Yeah, is it Alicia? I was like, somebody I know for a fact fucking used the name, and it wasn't Sip. It wasn't anyone related to Talamasca. Someone I distinctly caught that. I left my damn notebook at work today because it's a snow day, and I got so excited to leave.
So talking about Annabeth Gish, it occurred to me though, genuinely, you could have flashbacks where Deidre and Aaron Leitner have a relationship. Like what happens with Aaron, where he finally comes forward and talks to Rowan about what's going on with her, could have happened before to a different witch.
Yeah.
Like timelines, we could still get a lot of those old characters. I got my fingers crossed, y'all. I got my fingers crossed.
I have my fingers crossed that if we don't get them here, we will get them there. And by there, I mean the Talamasca series.
Yes. So Rowan decides, here's what I'm going to do. He's tracking the Mayfairs by smell. I'll make a storm so he can't smell them. Which, I got news for you. If he smelled her across Ponchatrain, he can smell her through the rain. Anywhere. But she goes up on the balcony, which again, we saw this scene in the trailer and we were both like, why is she standing out in the rain? Here, she made it rain. That's why she was standing out in the rain.
Why is it raining on her under something? It's witchcraft. Yeah. It's witchcraft. We're fine.
But she is interrupted in her witchcraft by Lark, who shows up. Rowan? Who I
don't hate.
I kind of love him, honestly.
Yeah, I don't hate him.
I love Moira, honestly, and I really enjoy Lark, too.
Yeah, I like Moira, and I like Lark. I can't say I love either of them yet. I need her to take the headphones off for a couple minutes just because I need her to have a neck, just so I can, like, place that in my mind.
I like the permanent headphones now. Don't make fun.
Oh, God. No, I'm not making fun. I appreciate them, but I just need to visualize that neck. Otherwise, I feel like I'm watching a WWE wrestler.
That's fair. That's fair.
But no, I like Lark. I hate all these stupid little short Nicky names we have to do on this show. It's so cutesy but I like him. I like that he was like, something's fucked up and I need to go check on her, you know?
Well, and we talked about it previously, like one of those relationships where it's like, hey, we're not together anymore, but if the world was ending, I would need to know that you're okay.
Oh yeah.
Clearly, Lark still has deep feelings for
Yeah.
Rowan. I get the impression Lark's still in love with Rowan, but even if he wasn't, and even if she doesn't reciprocate, and nothing ever comes of this,
Yeah.
I still think something's screwy with you, friend, and I want to know where you stand and if there's anything that I can do to help. And he's here to help. You know.
Also, you sent me this really fucked up blood sample, and you aren't acting like it's weird.
Well, and then she gives him like weird directions in this, and he goes, "Is your patient a chimpanzee?"
Yeah, what is happening? What is this? Yeah, I like him. I need to get out and research all the performers in this season, which I should have done this episode. I would have known that was fucking Thora Birch. But like I really do like this character. I like this guy. He's got a real easygoing kind of quality to it. He's not immediately coming in to try to be like the knight in shining armor. He's just like, feels like something's up. Like, I'm not trying to get too much in your business, but I feel like something's weird.
And he never pushes too hard. He never pushes too hard. Like, he's come from God knows where to New Orleans, and she's like, "No, you can't come in. It's a bad time. Can I walk you to your hotel?"
To your hotel.
And he's like, "Excellent. Yes."
That's awesome. Great.
And he's like, "Well, do you want to come up?" And she fucks off because something comes up. He's not mad about that. He's like, "But what is this thing?" He asks, he tries to help, but he never pushes too hard. Anyway, they're writing him perfectly is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
we should all be so lucky.
We like Lark. Even though his name is stupid.
Yeah, his name is totally stupid. By the way, and I can't believe that Rowan didn't say something about it, but like, he's staying at the Ponchatrain Hotel, the same hotel she stayed at when she first arrived, the same hotel her mother was killed in.
Was murdered in the elevator. Yeah. Let me walk you to the Ponchatrain. I know exactly where that is. I bet you do.
Lasher, meanwhile, goes to see another Mayfair. He goes to see Alicia, Moira's mom.
She wanted nothing more than to be visited by Lash. This woman got what she wanted.
Okay, earlier...
I don't think she wanted to die, but I think this is exactly what she was hoping for.
In episode 1, when Moira first gets home, she's all hot and bothered because Lasher's been born. This is why she was hot and bothered. She has had a Jones for this dude since she was a girl. And she is now a grown-ass woman... Past her prime, worried about it.
Having to grow up side by side with his chosen witch, like, what's that like when you want, I could be so good. I would be such a good witch for you.
And you saw it a little bit even in season 1 when she was so excited about Tessa's power. And when Tessa became the heir, she was so overjoyed because it's like, well, I didn't think I think about, we've talked in the past,
My son's a baseball player.
Yes, it's literally that. Or it's like, it's the opposite of, Queen Elizabeth never expected to be queen. Her uncle abdicated the throne and suddenly her father was king and now she was going to be the heir someday. And it was sort of like thrust upon her. And you imagine what was the weight of that. Like, this is the opposite of that. These people have been standing on the sidelines, hungry, frothing at the mouth for power. And now they have, or I say they, not they. Tessa was a little bit like that, but I think that was because it was a mirror of what her mama wanted. And we're seeing 100%. That all play out now,
Yeah. It is nice to have more time with these characters that we couldn't figure out anything about in the first season because they just didn't go in depth with anything. God. So that is kind of nice this season. The characters that they didn't kill off, we get to kind of spend a little bit more time with them and figuring out who they are and what kind of motivates them and that sort of thing. It's interesting.
She says she's telling Lasher, you'd come to us when we would have sleepovers, when Deidre would be here. You'd come and tell us stories. You'd tell us stories about Riverbend, about Haiti, about the antics you got up to with Uncle Julian. I love, by the way, that she says Uncle Julian with the French accent. I swear to God, of all the accents we heard from Julian earlier, none of them were French.
None of them was French.
Certain. Maybe he'll bring it next time.
Yeah, we'll see. That might be in the next round.
So the two places she mentions here, obviously Haiti is an island, but it was a home for the Mayfairs for a while. When they left Europe, they were in Haiti for a long time. They had a big plantation there. There was a slave revolt. They ended up moving from Haiti to New Orleans. But when they got to New Orleans, they started at the River Bend plantation. There was a place on, so the River Bend is an area in the bend of the Mississippi River, as you might imagine. Not too far, honestly, geographically from the First House Street. but it was like a world away when these things happened. You got to remember, like in the 1700s and the 1800s, the quarter was, you know, a long horse ride away from the garden district, or the garden district was a long horse ride away from the river bend, whereas like,
and then once you're trying to travel through the swamp and go through the marshes, and
gotta fight two alligators,
I gotta fight two gators and dip through your fucking sugarcane field to get to your house,
man. Which, by the way, if you ever go to New Orleans, you'll notice that the lot sizes are all like strange, especially near the river. One of the reasons is because those are all based off of plantations that were subdivided, and the plantation would be incredibly narrow at the river and then widen for miles and miles as it went out to the fields. And so that was the tracts of land that were then broken up and sold off. So that's why everything's sort of like weirdly spaced and shaped.
It's so like strangely like a semicircle, sort of like a it is very weird. It's very like slices of pie. It's so weird.
Also, the river bends around the city, like it literally goes around the city. So when we talk about the West Bank, you don't go west to go to the West Bank of the Mississippi River. You go east, actually, or south, I think. Anyway, it's not west is the point.
The fuckery of it all.
Yeah.
Welcome to the South, friends.
But I love, again, like we bagged so much on Mayfair in season 1 for just like looking at that whole book and going, nah, we'll write some new stuff. Here is an example. In this season, it feels like they're grabbing, and it's kind of random that they grab so much when they abandoned so much in season 1. And even here, they're changing so much in different ways, like her power levels and everything. And yet they hold to little things like a comment about Riverbend. I'm like, why? Why? I mean, good.
Yeah. I mean, is it good? Yeah. Like, where is it coming up again? Are we gonna see? This is how they get us. They get us hopeful, Joel. And this is what I'm not willing to do. I'm not willing to like give them my heart anymore and expect something to be given to me in return. I'm gonna just watch what they give me and hope for the best. But this does little hints make you feel like we're gonna get the Mayfair history.
The next thing, we go back to Lark and Rowan, and Lark says there were 4 extra chromosomes in your sample.
Just hanging out.
Again, like of all the things I thought they might adapt, this is not it. I can't imagine that they're going here, and yet they're going there. They're telling.
And he's so calm about it, too.
That's the other thing that's a little weird. I will say, he's using this all to seduce Rowan. He wants Rowan to come upstairs. And how do you do that? She's clearly not chasing me right now. She'll chase the science, though. Oh, look.
She will.
Test samples.
Let's look at these slides together and see what happens.
She's called away, though, because Alicia has been killed, and we got another Mayfair that's hemorrhaged to death. And JoJo says it's just like Gifford, like what's going on? But also don't hurry because Sip is here. Moira called Sip again, like she called Sip before she called the police.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I mean, yeah. But does she, because of her powers, does she know what happened? Does she have any sort of idea? Does she have an inkling? Did she pick up something? No, because she didn't pick up anything on her way there, because she goes into the house thinking everything's normal.
Yeah. I don't think she was able to read anything about the situation. Like, I don't think she spoke to her mother's ghost or anything.
Yeah.
But I do think this is an indication of she knows Sip is on the right side, right? Like Sip wants to do the right thing, and she feels confident in that because she got to read his mind. You know, which again,
I mean, he did let her in, and Rowan is not letting her in.
Well, and to the Alicia of it all, like her mom, that was the big thing with her mom. She would always hide behind music or whatever. But it's like, man, you could have fixed the problems in your relationship if you just both understood each other. You know?
Yeah.
Again, communication is key.
It is so important. You'd learn that if you went to therapy.
So they call Rowan. Rowan's like, well, I can't rush over there since Sip's there and I don't want to be in front of him. She decides to go wake up Cortland. Cortland is clueless. And I genuinely believe that that's true. He doesn't know about the end game here. He doesn't know what Lasher really wants. I don't think, anyway.
Yeah, he's just gotten caught up in people-pleasing fuckery.
Well,
is how it feels.
I think very specifically, that's one of the reasons why they've portrayed Julian as they have so far, and maybe they will continue that portrayal, is because they are going to put this all off on Julian.
Yeah.
This was all Julian's plan. Well, it was Lasher's plan, but Julian's the one that allowed it to happen and arranged the people in order, and they're going to cut Cortland out of a lot of the worst of his intentions, I think.
Cortland's doings,
yes.
which were not great either.
Yeah.
See, I find Cortland more offensive than Julian, but maybe that's just because Cortland's not as well written of a character as Julian is.
That in the novels, you don't spend a lot of POV time with him, and you do spend, well, not really POV, but like over Julian's shoulder, effectively, and you get to love him. Also, Julian is more charismatic than Cortland ever could be.
Absolutely.
Cortland is like a pale shadow. In that way.
And if we're talking about seeing Julian through other people's eyes, we're seeing him as everyone else sees him. When we're hearing the past be described, when we're going through the histories, it's not Julian telling his story; it's people telling
stories about him. Yes,
about
yeah.
So those are always going to be colored with like the charm of it all,
Man, Rowan calls him out. A lot of people are born with horrible fathers.
Yeah, thank you. Can we please acknowledge that? Like, there are so many people who have shitty parents that don't, shoot up a school or fucking fuck their daughters or trying to think of like.
My mom told me one time, she said, I'm not certain about the exact age, but somewhere around your 40s. It's not your parents' fault anymore that you're an asshole.
No, yeah, because you choose to be. Well, I had that conversation with a friend of mine recently because, she's got a partner who is like very emotionally like stunted and irresponsible. He's very emotionally irresponsible, and she's like, "Well, she just had so much childhood trauma," and I was like, so many that can't at some point you have to choose to not continue to leave collateral damage in your own wake. You can't do that. It's not an excuse, and you can work through those things and you can come through those and be a better person and a stronger person and a more loving person and a kinder person and a person who can help guide others through those situations. Like, no, at some point you're still making a choice to live in that existence and to continue that existence. My God, how dare you within your own family continue that kind of thing? Like that like I'm very big on like, this fucking ends here. This ends here. Like, we're not going to continue this generational trauma bullshit just because we can use our shitty childhood as an excuse for it.
100%.
I'll get on my soapbox now.
No, that's a good one to be on. You can stay up on that one the rest of the show if you want to.
I have real strong opinions about that. I'm just like, my God, like all the things that have happened to people I know that are wonderful, kind, loving people, and that we could be the biggest cunts on earth, and we aren't.
But you and I also know a lot of, to use the Aladdin line, street rats who turned into fucking Gandhis, right? And are not just productive in society, but are generous and are generous of spirit and generous with their time and money and resources and et cetera, et cetera. Like, miss me with the, we all come from somewhere, and everything can have an origin.
Your experiences are fucking valid.
They're valid.
Your experiences are so
100%.
valid. But you can't just
deserving of processing, deserving of
time and love and generosity and gentleness to work through all of that. Yes.
But you can't, none of those are excuses to take it out on somebody else. My 15-year-old often has a problem. He'll bump into somebody and then get angry when called out about it because he's like, well, I didn't mean to. Okay, but not meaning to doesn't make the accident any less existent, right? Like, I didn't mean to run into your car, but it's no less smashed.
Yeah, it is. I left a dent, and I'm probably going to need to give you my insurance information.
There's going to need to be reciprocity.
Yes.
Oh man, okay. Rowan ends this episode on such a great note. I love this line, and again, this is an example of how we're 100% improvement in the character of Rowan.
Yes,
200%.
Thank you.
Come
Thank
on,
you. And
you have a lot to do. You work for me now. That's what she tells
for
Cortland.
me now. Oh, that felt so like Rowan. I loved that. That was the best flex she's made the entire series so far, and just delicious. Felt like the Rowan that we know, and if you love Rowan, which many of us do, the Rowan that we love, because she is not putting up with some petty bullshit from weak, small men.
Well, but that it's so true in the books when she realizes what it means to be the heir and to be the head of the Mayfair family. She immediately starts pulling strings that the law firm does not care for. Wait a minute, you're going to send the money where now exactly? And they're like,
she's
don't worry about it.
And she's taking care of X, Y, and Z.
It's my fucking money, so you work for me now. Absolutely,
I take care of the family. Don't you worry.
Yeah,
I'm taking care of the family, but I'm going to be taking care of this business too. Like she just had so much. She has so much more depth in the books, and I'm so happy to see some of that coming through finally.
Me
she's
too.
A good enough actress that we should be seeing that.
She's great on it, and that's what we talked going into this series. We were both very excited about her. A little surprised she wasn't exactly what we had in our head, but like capable of it, physically could pull it off, absolutely. And 100%. Now here we see the role playing out a little bit better. We're happy to see that. You love to see it. Here's what I don't love to see exactly, because I had talked myself into it at this point. I'm like, oh, that was Cortland's version of Julian. Now we'll see real Julian maybe in a flashback or something. But the last thing that we see in the episode is Julian on his throne chair from his ghost feast, calling Rowan's name very angrily. One imagines for taking away his new Cortland servant.
Yes, because he works for her now and not for you anymore, Julian.
But, I mean, that makes me like, is this actually Julian's spirit somehow trapped in some fashion? Was Julian entombed in a way by Cortland in the same way that Cortland was then entombed by Rowan in the statue? I don't know.
Or was Julian entombed by another witch from a previous generation? Was Julian entombed by Lasher himself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my guess is that we're going to see, if not a physical manifestation, at least like Millie, where he is a presence that annoys the family. But I think that might be the Julian that we see, which let's do something interesting with him, I guess. But man.
It makes me want to reread everything again so I can get a clearer picture of how my mind should be approaching all of this.
I mean, I will say, Ashley, do you remember how we just finished Blood and Gold and we were both so mad at Marius the whole time?
That's what I'm afraid of.
Maybe we'll go read Lasher.
Have I gotten so mature in my life that if I reread Julian's business in the Mayfair Witch books, am I going to think he's a whole load of Marius?
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, interesting. Continues to be interesting. Continues to be compelling television. It is not up to the standard of Interview with a Vampire, and if you're going to hold it to that, you're never going to be satisfied. I'm going to tell you right now.
Not for us.
This is not the same. Yes. Well, it's not the same
for us.
It's not. Again, I think it comes down to Interview with the Vampire knows that it is a niche show, and it is continuing to aim directly at that niche. Whereas this show, I don't know if it was directed from the network or from the showrunners or what, but they said we could do a little more with this. Yeah, we're going to cast a wide net and catch a lot of folks.
Yeah.
This is aiming very squarely at the Walking Dead audience. This is aiming at that big mainstream normal
that AMC
audience.
Yeah. That's been rocking with them since, Breaking Bad.
And I got to tell you, this is pretty, again, it's not the best series that I've ever seen on TV or anything. I'm not going to cry if this one doesn't win awards. It's good, compelling genre TV though.
We're in for this season so far. We're ready for what's next. Let's see it. Let's do it.
And thanks to everybody for the feedback. I will say, Ashley, it's so strange on this one because, I mean, effectively with when we do our interview episodes for IWTV, our audience, the folks that are hanging out listening, are all united in their opinion of the show, basically. Yeah. The ones that didn't like it all dropped off in the beginning and they don't listen to us talk about it. With Mayfair, though...
Or they listen to us talk about it, but they don't watch it.
Yeah, good point. With Mayfair, though, there is like a group that is just very much still dead set on this ain't my Mayfair and I do not care for it. But then I see so many new people to the group that like Mayfair is their shit. It's their main
their
shit.
jam. Yeah. But I need some of that drug. Like, give me some of that hype. Like, give us some of that energy because we want to be in on it. We want to be. And this season is so much better than the first season for me. So I'm already a little happier rolling into what's next for us.
Well, and it gives me more hope for Talamasca. It gives me more hope for the future of the universe as a whole. Before it was like,
and when the crossovers happen, like, I'm a little less like horrified.
I will say this: I'm surprised that we didn't get one yet. I thought that we were going to get the Lestats vampire underling from the end of season 2. I thought we were going to get him in like episode 1 or 2. And we haven't yet. Surprised.
That would be fun. We'll see. There's still a lot of season left. 7 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, I think this is 8. I'm not supposed to say that. I don't know how many. Let me go. I'm going to look it up right now because I need to know now. I
can't remember if it's 7 or 8. Oh my God. It's 29 degrees here in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Girl, I thought you were just about to say, oh my God, it's 29 episodes.
No.
I was going to lose my shit.
It is not the year 2002. No one's doing 20 episodes of shit anymore.
There are 8, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds
March
good.
2nd, 2025 is going to be the season finale. Yeah, I'm again like much improved. Kudos, Mark Johnson and the team got things running at a good clip. Honestly, like we heard all of this positive press around, Comic-Con and stuff, and most of the things that they have said have held true. We laughed when they said they'd really gone back to the source material. There's so much of the book here in 2 episodes already.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I feel like the very least Alexandria Daddario read those books.
She must have read something for sure.
I do feel like at least this season, like the focus and the forward trajectory is very clear where they're going. I think that makes it so much easier to commit to things as an actor. When you know like what the fucking story is,
when you know what you're doing.
You're kind of just fucking playing around. You're playing pretend, and you don't really know what to push and what not to push, and what to like, how to physically use your voice the right way. So I feel like they've got them on a much better trajectory this season as far as the actor's actual journey.
Absolutely, I agree. Folks, more of all of this to come. If you like this sort of thing, you can go to our YouTube channel. I've got new videos up for what you missed in season 2 of Interview with the Vampire. Those have started dropping now. Also, Ashley and Brett are wrapping up the end of Fall of the House of Usher over on Flan again. And
2 more episodes there.
What was the other thing just launched this week on YouTube. I've got a new series myself. You can find me at Dad Would Have Loved This. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple.
I can't wait.
So this happened recently. I was watching Bull Durham is the movie that it happened. I've had this idea for a while. I'm like, maybe I should do something about, Dad would have liked it. Anyway, I'm watching Bull Durham and I'm trying to remember whether that was a movie that he ever talked about or not. And it's a little more racy than he normally would have cared for content. There's a lot of sex discussion in that movie, but it's very funny. And he was a huge Kevin Costner stan. So all throughout it, I'm thinking Dad would have liked this and Dad would have liked that. And he wouldn't have liked that and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I should just make a video about this. And then I make a whole thing. Meanwhile, my son comes to me the other day and asks, hey, Dad, could we do some videos where I pick a wrestling match for you to watch with me from like the modern era, and then you pick a match for me to watch with you from the classic era or whatever, and we both talk about the match or react to it or whatever. So we did one of those the other day. Those are going to come out more sporadically, but that's part of the Dad Would Have Loved This series. It's like a little bonus.
I love it.
WWU and me. That's what I called those episodes. But yeah, we watched Hell in a Cell match with like CM Punk and somebody the other day. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I'm going to make him watch a Stone Cold match, I think, for the first one. And we're going to do a lot of Attitude Era stuff that he's like heard about but not seen.
Yeah, if you need suggestions, we got Nick Harrison. So
Yeah, 100%. Right. Anyway, you can go check all of that out on YouTube. I'll have the links in the show notes as well. But thanks
I'm
to
very
anybody
excited
who
to
joins
watch
me over there.
those.
I'm excited to get those out, honestly. Yeah. So yeah, the first three we're doing is I'm doing Sneakers from 92. I'm doing
Love that
There Was a
movie.
Crooked Man from 1970, and then Bull Durham is the third one. I think I'm going to end up going on like a Kevin Costner kick, though. We're wrapping up. Kelly and I are finishing up Yellowstone, which is also definitely a dad would have loved this. And
Yeah.
I am currently watching his Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1 on Max. Have you seen that yet?
I haven't yet.
I love an overpriced Kevin Costner Western epic. I was a huge fan of like Wyatt Earp and Dances with Wolves. And hell, I loved Waterworld. Me and Dad, we were the two that liked Waterworld, honestly.
It was a spectacle.
There's so much good in that story. Like the ideas are really interesting, and there's several good performances, and some of the special effects are pretty good. Like, yeah, it didn't work, and it got such bad press before it ever came out. It ruined it. But
God bless.
anyway,
Yeah,
I like it when Kevin Costner wastes his own money on other people's.
I like it when rich people spend their own money and don't make other people pay for things. I prefer that, frankly.
It's true. It's true. All right. Until next week, go and watch episode 3 of season 2 of Mayfair Witches. We'll be back to talk about it then. Until then, we've been your hosts. I'm Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are the Articulate Coven.
Thanks for listening to The Articulate Coven. If you enjoyed the show, check out our groups on Facebook and Discord. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Or find us at articulatecoven.com and wherever you listen to podcasts.